Hi. Venri was my first foray into fan fiction, and the world has treated me incredibly well, so I just kept going. Near the end of Venri, I started getting the idea for Fault Lines. Fault Lines comes chronologically written after Venri, and that's a Thane canon-compliant romance. I don't get along with Thane in the game terribly well at all. I kind of think he's an evasive liar. And that was mostly my interpretation of Thane. I'm appalled at his security at getting Erica killed. I find that unforgivable. I also find it unforgivable that he completely abandoned his son. I justify it in a lot of ways, but it could have been so much better handled. Okay, so you stay away from your kid so you don't get him killed, but can you at least let him know he's loved? And you're doing it to protect him and not just because you really love breaking necks. So mostly my impression of Thane in the game is that he's a liar who really likes breaking necks. And he's very good at it. And he gets a lot of money from it. That impression, in fact, stays through every single iteration of Thane that I wrote. I don't try to excuse the guy. And he's a bad guy. I bumped up his IQ a bit. And unfortunately, the way that the character twists that is most of this is first person, and he buys his own bullshit routinely. Believes that he is so much smarter than anybody else, which is actually kind of true, but unfortunately, he keeps talking himself into corners, and it's very rarely that he thinks himself out of a problem. Mostly he thinks himself into killing another person. That's what he's good at. That's what he knows he's good at. That is really his happy place. That and sex, killing people and sex are things that he loves. And he dresses it up. He has religious delusions. He has all of these justifications. He is as judgmental as the compact that trained him. He knows he's alive because he never made a mistake. He was raised not by family, not by anybody who loved him or forgave him, but by a blind and cruel compact that trained him to kill without remorse. And he's a really good, thoughtless, mindless killer. That's why he's lived so long. So he's never going to give up all of his ability to stay alive. He's had more training than anybody else. He's really good at it. Most of my sympathy for Thane is for the 6-year-old Thane, the little boy who goes into training and is systematically corrupted and broken and turned into a killing machine. So in Fault Lines, I'm trying to make a romance for this guy, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And my only answer to that is he's got to be with a renegade, because if he's with a paragon, he's going to lie to her every second and she's going to buy it. And I just wanted someone to really call Thane on his bullshit every second. Even as a paragon, I wanted to go, how could you possibly believe that you consented to being trained to kill at 6 years old? To which he replies with his, don't insult me, and I knew what I was doing and I could have said no. I find that to be disingenuous bullshit. Would you put another kid in there? Do you think it's good for them? Do you really stand behind this stuff? So I take that judgmental killer with very little insight into the other side of things. He knew that he wasn't really good for Erica. Obviously, he got her killed and he will never forgive himself for that. But all he has is judgment, and he doesn't like himself at all. He's not going to change because he knows he'd die, but he doesn't like himself. He has a renegade shepherd in Fault Lines that loves him. And it is a love story. It really is, but it's between two dedicated liars. She is harsh and she is rough, and he is struck with that Siha moment that kind of defines him, where he decides through his religious framework of seeing things that she could be his chance to balance out the death of Erica. If he saves her life, if he gives his life in exchange for hers, maybe the gods could forgive him. He'll never forgive himself, but maybe the gods could forgive him. So he doesn't find forgiveness, but he does find love, and he finds someone that loves him for who he is and sees through all of his bullshit and gets to punch him, which is kind of the best part. At least for me writing it. There were several times I wanted to punch Thane. Thane's inclusion in the game is very short, and it is canon compliant, which gives me very few happy ending choices. It's painful, but he does get the chance to be truly loved before he dies. And I think mostly for that small boy who had all of his choices stolen, he should be given some moments of real love in his life that he can comprehend. I know that Erica loved him, but he couldn't understand it. He just knew he wasn't worthy, so he was never going to be worthy. And he would continue to try to be worthy of her. But eventually he finds a woman who can understand exactly who he is and love him for that.